Well, you're privy to them, so you
Yes,
kind of already
I
know.
had a
So
cheat.
you're not gonna be surprised. You have a cheat sheet. All right, number one, and this is important. This is not talked about enough, by the way. Timing and vision. Okay, the vision part.
Mhm.
You know that story. You being a Yankee fan, you probably didn't like David Ortiz all that much, but he started to, um, when he was struggling, his eyesight was kind of going a little bit, right? I don't know the exact story, but then he went to the eye doctor and he got his eyes checked. Timing and vision. If you don't have timing, well, vision, okay, obviously, but if you don't have the timing, you're not going to be able to hit anything, right?
Yeah, I think, there's situations where in cases your vision will affect your timing. And then
Mhm,
there's other situations where your vision can be fine and your timing can still be off. And
mhm.
I've dealt with that firsthand vision wise. I remember I went in the biggest slump of my life my junior year in college. I had a girl come up to me. She was a freshman. She's like, you should probably get your eyes checked. And I was like I was in such a bad place. But sure enough, I started to notice like just little things when my eyes were fatigued during night games. And it doesn't have to be, it's not like, oh, my vision's there and then everything is blurry. It's just enough. It is just enough to all of a sudden you can't see the ball as crisp, as clear. And sure enough, when I went to the doctor, they're like, yeah, if you were just an average person walking down the street, you might not have noticed this slight shift, but because you're so reliant on your vision, so got contacts, and I couldn't believe, I was like, oh, I forgot I used to see the ball that well. I
Yeah.
thought it was another issue. So I've felt with that or dealt with that firsthand. And you know, you could have the prettiest swing on the planet, but if you can't time up a pitch, it doesn't matter. You have the prettiest swing on the planet. If you're blind, it's not going to matter. So I'm glad that that is paramount and key because if anything, like, gosh, that makes up for so much else. You talk to anybody who's played the game, and they're like, yeah, I'd rather have a better, like a day where I'm just timing the ball up perfectly instead of a day that my swing feels good.
Yeah, and you can get away with, bad mechanics or struggling mechanically, maybe something is off if you have the right timing, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, people try to put mechanics as king because it's very easy to like critique it. It's very easy to just look, but how do you critique someone's timing? How do you critique
Right.
someone's vision? And the other piece of it too. So, a couple interesting things off of vision. I think they've talked about the. I'm not sure what the greatest the human eye has ever been able to see, but it's not just 2020 that you're looking for. You're looking for like 2015, which means where normal people see 20 feet away, you're able to see it as if it was 15 feet away. You're able to just
Yeah.
see longer distances better. And so I think Bryce Harper has extreme vision. I think I've heard a lot of stories about that. But then the other end of it too is just like, how do you take care of your eyes? There's so many techniques to, hey, when you lock into a picture, don't stare, because staring is fatiguing. It's almost like you're just holding your arm out for this long, your arm's eventually going to fatigue. So like eye scanning or eye breathing, as Ted Williams used to call it all those years ago, where you're trying to just relax your eyes, and then the first time you pick the ball up, that's the most high definition version of that ball that you're going to see.
It's a great point because when hitters when they're in the box for too long and they're looking out at a pitcher, and pitchers now, of course, they at the major league level, they've got the pitch com, but they're still going through the series of signs. And I was always taught 3 seconds and then you step out because, to your point, your eyes become fatigued, right?
Yeah, yeah, gosh. Listen, when I was in college, I was so tuned into, or I wouldn't say tuned in. I was such a believer that the eyes were so important to my ability to hit, my ability to
Mhm.
just see an incoming pitch, read it sooner, know if it was a ball, know if it was a strike. That if I had a test on a Friday, but I also had a game on a Friday, I wouldn't stay up studying Thursday night. I'd make sure my studying was done Tuesday or Wednesday so
Mhm.
that I could sleep and not be straining on a computer or a book the night before. Just little things like that. And then the other piece of it too is how much better do you see the ball the more times you see the pitcher. So is there this subconscious vision, if you will, where it's, hey, you've seen a pitcher enough times that by the, it's not your conscious vision. It's not like you saying like, wow, I'm actually seeing the arm slot go to here, but something in your subconscious triggers, that's a changeup, that's a curveball, and preps you for that pitch before it even comes in. So that's like a whole nother, that's like a third eye to the game, right? But they talk about running backs having it when they're trying to find holes. How'd you know to go right instead of left? It's like, well, I don't know. I didn't consciously tell myself to go right. It was just this reaction, or it's really this anticipation. Malcolm Gladwell's book Blank talks about that a lot, which is very cool. And then the sports gene I think I'm gonna blank on his first name, but Epstein is the author, and he talked about that right away. They took Ryan Howard from the Phillies, and they started looking at pitchers, and they were like, "Hey, at what point do you know in this pitcher's windup where that pitch is going to be before they release it?" And it just that was the impressiveness of hitters, is being able to have that third eye look into their the pitchers.
Okay, I'm looking up the book. And for the record, for those crossover listeners who listen to the Lab Epstein Hitting podcast, it is not Mike or Jake Epstein, although they have written two separate books. I can't find it.
The
Darn it.
sports gene.
Oh, it's called Sports Gene. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I searched the wrong title. Okay. Hold on
I'm
here.
almost positive Epstein. This is
Oh,
like
David Epstein.
David.
David
Yeah, there you
Epstein.
go. Cool.
Yes. It's Sports Gene. I'll give him a quick plug here, I guess. And you know what? I'm going to write this down for later because I want to order this book and I want to read it. Inside the Science of Extraordinary Athletic Performance is the book by David
Yeah, it was
Epstein.
like the first chapter was really, or the first part of the book got me hooked because,
Yeah. Yeah.
actually, I think that was my first audiobook. So it was a good listen too.
Oh, okay. So you're an audiobook kind of gal. Me too.
I
Well,
am.
me
I
too.
drive 2 hours every day. So that's,
Audiobook kind of guy, but
mm.
you're an audiobook kind of gal. Very good. It's funny because YouTube, I have a whole section in my saved videos for, peeling back the onions today on the new year, 2000, first episode of 2023. I have an audiobook section of YouTube where I can just put audiobooks in there that are on YouTube, legally
Oh,
or
nice.
illegally. It's interesting with timing though. We talk so much about mechanics and the sport of baseball and softball, and it's so heavily talked about at nauseum. But the reason we need to have good mechanics is so that we can actually have good timing, right? I mean,
Mm.
that's why we want to have good mechanics. We can talk all we want about, hey, we need to have good mechanics to barrel up the baseball, but we also need to have adjustable mechanics that if we are fooled on a breaking pitch, baseball or softball, we need to have those solid mechanics that can still get us to the point where we can barrel up the baseball and hit it hard, or softball.
Yeah, if you think hitting off a tee is like the easiest piece of it, right? Like, hey, we're going to hit off a tee. This is
Right.
the easiest level of entry to hitting. Everything that we do after that is trying to create safety nets for the level of difficulty of hitting, right? So like why we teach anything in mechanics is going to be a safety net for trying to react to better pitching, trying to hit the ball a little bit harder, trying to, well, listen, if we're going to face this type of pitcher, we need the safety net of a really strong front side. If we're going to face this type of pitcher, we're going to need the safety net of a really quick bat. It's that is why you do it, because every single thing a pitcher is doing is they're trying to screw up your timing. And if you have the ability to adjust with your timing, right? It's not just you being able to time up the same pitch over and over again. If you have the ability to adjust, that's going to be king.
Yeah. Also, you made a great point that I want to just circle back to really quick. And people watching football games, big time now for college football, the NFL, bowl games, etc. When they zero in the camera shot, they zero in on the running back's eyes, and they see him in the backfield, and you see him hands on his knees, and his eyes are darting around. That goes back to your point of what you said a couple of minutes ago about the eyes and about the vision.
Yeah, it's something, it's that gamer, right? Like
It's
someone who
cool.
just shows
Yeah.
up at a game and just knows
Yeah.
exactly what to do. It's super cool.
Yeah. Be sure to follow us, by the way, social media at Jim Tara, at Coach_CassieRB on Instagram, at Coach CassieRB on Twitter, and email us your questions, JimboPodcast21 at gmail.com. Swing.